Hello, hello, and welcome back, everyone. Today we'll be speaking about debt. Now, I know that's a very broad, very wide, encompassing topic, so it is nearly impossible to cover everything about debt um, in a single video. So we'll actually be talking about, debt is a very antithesis of financial freedom. So we'll be talking about that, a little bit all over, but I just want to, kind of scratch the surface so far so we can have somewhat of a, um, I guess, an idea of what we're talking about. Debt is anything that holds you back from spending your money the way that you want to. Now, that doesn't mean spending your money the way that you want to responsibly. That means if you get money and you owe somebody money that you don't already have, and it's not a utility, that's debt. Some things in life, obviously, like electric, water, utility data, stuff like that. It's gonna come every month. That's not debt. Debt is like credit debt, student loans, anything that you owe and you have to pay back that's not recurring. So let's go ahead and get started. It is hard to truly cover debt in a single way, like I was saying, but I feel it's all too necessary now. Everything that happened in 2020 and now we're in 2021. Many Americans have debt. It's a common part of life, but it doesn't have to be. Debt is something that has become a natural part of life. It is normalized in commercials, radio, TV, with social media, whatever, you know, audiovisual stimuli. It's all saturated with debt, normalizing debt. You see, furniture companies rent to own. Why would you rent to own a couch? Payment plans, 80 days, same as cash. Like, debt has so inundated our society and our culture that it's normalized, and a lot of Americans are sinking further and further into debt. Obviously, like I said, COVID, for 2020, like that's, kind of a separate topic on its own. So obviously, it's a natural, recession. Many millions of Americans have felt it, but this is more so outside of that because that wasn't an issue long before COVID was here. Debt is a cruel master that is hard to overthrow. And I guess it's partially goes back to the other two lessons, whether responsibility and choices, because like really all of this goes hand in hand. Debt is a choice. Now, whoa, don't click off yet. Debt is a choice. The choice is whether or not you choose to stay in debt. Yes, I get it. Life happens, and everybody, very few people from that matter these days, um, are born to a wealthy family where they have money where debt's not a reality for them. So I get it. We all have debt, and a lot of many millions of Americans have debt that is just a fact of reality in this modern world. It's hard to live without incurring debt unless you have large sums of money just sitting around, which most people do not. But debt and choosing the choice and being responsible for your finances and attaining financial freedom, those are all choices. You cannot get somebody out of debt who does not want to be out of debt. Now, going into that, you cannot help somebody who does not want to be helped. That's just a fact. You cannot. And I'm afraid millions of Americans, are so enslaved, so conditioned that thinking debt is normal. That's the way it should be. That they don't understand that they are drowning in debt. Millions of Americans each year die, and they die in debt. What used to be, quote unquote, living beyond your means. If you couldn't save up and afford it and buy it cash outright, you couldn't. Now, yes, I understand inflation, cost of living is not, comparable to the, increase of wages. So I get that, and I understand that. That's, a lot of times you hear that from, an older demographic, but there is a certain level of truth to that still. People get out of college, graduate, get their first job. They want to you go buy a $60,000 Mercedes. Now, is there anything inherently wrong? Is anything inherently wrong with going out and buying, a 2021 Mercedes? No, if you can afford it, keyword, if you can afford it, key term, if you can afford it, by all means, go ahead. It's a free country. You work for that money, spend it how you wish. But if you make 5,000 a month before taxes, your utilities, you know, and 600,000 of that, I'm sorry, 600 to 700 of that is going to a car. That's a very, very unwise decision to make. You delayed gratification. Until a lot of young people, when they first go to college, don't chase that car unless your school debt is paid off. You have, a good quality long-term living situation. Not necessarily going to be there for a long time, but you have money saved up for a rainy day. If you were not to work for 6 to 8 months, you'd be just fine. And given today's economy and social climate, I'd probably say a year and a half at this point. You just never know what's going to happen anymore. COVID taught us that. But getting back towards the main topic, if you think that debt is a fixed part of life, change your life. Debt is something that has been created, the whole culture of debt, like I was telling you earlier. Previous generations of Americans did not have that. And certainly debt's always been around, but nowhere near the magnitude that you see it in place today. If you couldn't afford something years ago, you didn't buy it, or you saved up until you bought it, or you bought the cheap version until you could afford to buy the expensive version. Certainly not everything has an alternative. If you need an automobile, for sure, yeah. Everybody, if you even did a job, how you're gonna go to work? You don't have a car. If there's a bus, but that might cause you to be late and you lose that job. I get that, but again, you don't need a Mercedes. You know, just because you have a Mercedes, a Toyota will get you there just as efficiently. You may not be stylish or comfortable or quickly, but it will get you there. Now, there will come a time after driving that Toyota, if you handle your finances well and you avoid debt and you obtain financial freedom, yes, one day you will have quote unquote Mercedes money, but that is not something that is wise to do right out of college. Next, another large contributor to American debt is the credit card. That came out in the early 20th century, and it is something that kind of revolutionized the way that we spend money. That again, delayed gratification. It kind of opposes that in every sense. You know, so I can get it now, pay it off at the end of the month, which was the original intent. It wasn't to hold it for months and months, sometimes years, and pay it off slowly. That was it's a noose for the consumer's neck. The more you spend, you tighten that noose every single time you swipe it. Credit cards were not made for you to get out of debt easily. It is easier to get into debt than it is to get out of debt. That is the way it works. That is how Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express make their money. It is not helping you, it is helping you get whatever you want right then, but it is also making sure that they get their money from you from years to come. It actually increases the amount of time that you will be in debt. For instance, if you have $4,000 on a credit card and you make the minimum payment that that same credit card company suggests, you will pay it off in 30 years at 18%. Versus if you pay that same $4,000 debt on the credit card and live a little bit more frugally, instead of making the minimum payment, you make a little bit more. Instead of minimum payments 80 and you make it about 120 to about 150, you can pay it off in 3 to 7 years instead of 30 years. So that little bit of extra you make on that monthly payment is the difference between 6 and 7 to 30 years. Those cards are not made for you to get out of debt. They're made to prolong your suffering. It is not freedom at all. And don't bite off more than you can chew. Again, with the whole Mercedes, versus, more affordable car. I know obviously Mercedes is the most expensive car in the world, and just use Mercedes. Yes, yes, yes. I get all of that. I just use that because kind of, the foremost name in, I guess, luxury automakers. So again, there's your time will come. I'm here to encourage you and let you know that be patient. Make sure you avoid debt. Obviously, I know that's, life happens again. There's always an instant situation where there's a right. I'm talking about the willful choice to choose and say, I have a little bit of, money burn a hole in my pocket instead of saving it, put it towards a new car. And again, it's a big difference between affording something and being able to buy something. There are many things people are able to buy and they go ahead and purchase, but it does not mean they can afford it. Famous Jay-Z said, you can't afford something unless you can buy it twice. And there's so much truth to that. But even these days, I'd probably say 2 to 3 times. Simple fact. Because if you have $5,000, I mean, technically you can afford something, that's 4,700, including tax and all of that stuff, depending on what it is. Sure. But can you really afford it? If you have $5,000 to your name, can you really afford to lose $4,700 on a single item? Unless it's like life-saving, earth-shattering, I can't imagine what it would be. It's just an example. But chances are that's a very, very unwise money move to make. Simple as that. So I'm just kind of, covering the very broad corners of debt. Like I said, it's a very, very extensive topic, so we cannot possibly cover that in a single video, even a single series of videos. I'm just trying to cover the different aspects of debt in a very broad overview. And then it comes to paying back debt, the snowball. Again, we're going to tie us into yesterday from choices and responsibility. The snowball method is probably the easiest method of paying off debt. And I've seen this come through partially even in my own life. For instance, this is an example. Let me think. I don't know if you have $500 that you owe. You have 3 $100 debts and 1 $200 debt. Okay, so you pay off the first $100. You pay off one of the $100 loans. Okay, so now that's extra $100 coming into your income, no longer going towards paying off that bill. Now that bill has been paid off. So now you have 1 $200 debt to pay every month and 2 $100 debts to pay every month. But now that extra $100 can now pay off another $100 debt. So now you have 1 $200 debt you're paying a month, and you use the $200 from now free, not say free, but spendable income that you have to put towards the other $200 debt. So now you use that 200 to pay that other 200. You see how it kind of snowballs from 100 to 200, 200 to 200. So now you really only have $100 left to pay. $100 bill to pay every month. 1 month and that's gone. And it's a very simple example for sake of math and ease of convenience. That's essentially how snowballing works. You pay off small debt first, and then you use that to pay off a slightly larger debt. So now your small and medium debt are gone. Only thing left you have to pay is that large debt. But guess what? Now, living the same frugal lifestyle, you can combine your small and medium debt to take on your large debt, which will pay it off even faster. This is not what marketing and debt companies really want you to do, but it's not, because again, they make their money, their fortune off the backs of the consumer. They don't want you to know all this stuff. The snowball method is tried, true, and proven. I do it myself. I'm beginning to do it as I get older, and the more I learn about it, I'm doing it myself. So it's probably the simplest and easiest way to go ahead and eliminate debt. Again, this is a very, 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 very broad and extensive topic, which is just a broad overview, many different angles. I'm sure I missed several, and I will try to touch on those in the future. Thank you guys for listening once again. Like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell at the bottom. I will post a link to our other channel. And have a good night.